All right, so I'm getting pretty sick and tired of talking about Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, but I had to bring you guys this article from Axios because it is one of the worst examples of utter bootlicking and corporate propaganda coming from Axios that I've seen from corporate media in a long time, okay? They are completely slobbering and globbering all over Kyrsten Sinema as she continues to try to tank this $3.5 trillion investment in the American people. So they titled this article, Cracking the Sinema Code. And listen, I cannot even prepare you guys for the type of shit that they were saying in this article, which is completely contradicted by reality. And I honestly have no idea, even though they are a corporate outlet, why some outlet that has some degree of credibility like Axios would be running this sort of propaganda for one of the only senators in the entire country that is opposing, or within the Democratic Party, that is opposing the Biden agenda, that is opposing the agenda that is overwhelmingly supported by the American people. But here's how they discuss Kyrsten Sinema in the current situation. So cracking the Sinema Code, and this is written by Hans Nichols. So Senator Kyrsten Sinema's political allies have some free advice for anyone trying to bully the wine-drinking triathlete into supporting President Biden's $3.5 trillion budget bill. She doesn't play by Washington's rules, and she's prepared to walk away. So already, they're framing this entire situation as if Kyrsten Sinema is some ballsy outsider, as if she is some quirky little person who's just not following for Washington's games and shit like that. It's completely ridiculous. Kyrsten Sinema is more awashed in Washington's games and how Washington has been functioning, right? With all of these lobbyists, all of these corrupting influences funneling money into her campaigns, which we're going to get into the details of some of those groups. But she is the epitome of what Washington, D.C. politics looks like. She is the epitome of classic Washington, D.C. corruption that everybody hates about Congress, and they are trying to portray her as if she is some ooh, I'm a wine-drinking triathlete outsider. What the fuck? But continuing on, they say, why it matters. For all her flash, Sinema, unlike fellow holdout Senator Joe Manchin, rarely telegraphs her precise intentions, leaving political adversaries guessing about her ultimate goal. Rarely telegraphs her intentions. She is a public servant. This is somebody who her constituents elected her to go and represent them. It's her literal job to be responsive to what her constituents want. And the overwhelming majority of her constituents in Arizona, including independents and by some polls, even Republicans, favor all of these policies that are included in this bill that she is opposing. So what the fuck is this framing here? She never telegraphs her precise intentions, leaving political adversaries guessing. She's leaving the whole fucking country guessing, and that's a bad thing, okay? Public servants, public representatives should not be ambiguous and vague to the point where we don't even know what the fuck they want out of policies and legislation. That shouldn't have to be said. That's in their job description. That's the whole job of being a politician. But they continue giving her even more fawning praise, saying, in conversation with colleagues, she'll suggest that her top priority is passing the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal that she brokered this spring over a late night wine-fueled negotiation. And beyond that, you're piecing together clues. So you would think that an article, right? You would think that a publication like Axios, a journalistic outlet like Axios, would maybe be asking her these types of questions, right? Maybe be asking politicians what they actually believe in instead of writing praise for them because they don't know what the fuck they believe in. What is this? I mean, it's just one of the most ridiculous articles. Bizarre that they would be framing it like this, but they continue. It gets even more ridiculous. They say President Biden and his top aides met with her 4 times over the course of a day this week. 4 times over the course of a day without totally cracking the code. What? They continue saying Sinema on Thursday tweeted a statement saying, quote, claims that the senator has not detailed her views to President Biden and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are false, and they are fully aware of Senator Sinema's priorities, concerns, and ideas. We still don't know what they actually are talking about when they talk about this. And between the lines here, it gets even better. Progressives could be forgiven for presuming that Sinema, age 45, the first openly bisexual member of Congress, got to get a little bit of identity politics in here, who's easy to spot in her trademark sleeveless dress, wry wigs, and acrylic glasses, would share their woke politics. Their woke, what the fuck? Their woke politics? This is woke politics? Child tax benefit, universal pre-K, paid family leave, paid medical leave, free community college, Medicare expansion, housing, home care, climate legislation, higher taxes on the rich. That's woke politics. What do these words even mean to whoever's writing this article? Hans Nichols, I would love to know what your definition of woke politics is, because if it's this, then basically you're just calling whatever policies the overwhelming majority of the country supports is just woke politics, no matter what it has to do with, whether it's economics or whether it's welfare, no matter what it has to do with. Apparently it's all just woke politics because Kyrsten Sinema and her wry wigs and acrylic glasses oppose them. But they continue saying, They've been befuddled and increasingly enraged, talking about progressives here. They've been befuddled and increasingly enraged when she behaves more like the late Republican Senator John McCain and another Arizonian who didn't mind challenging party orthodoxies. Okay, where is the substance in this? Where is even the ideological positioning in this article? It's complete gibberish and nonsense. They're comparing her to John McCain, who also apparently broke with party orthodoxies. The only thing that I'm thinking of, right, that comes to mind recently at the end of John McCain's life is when he voted down, right, he famously went against the party line with the Republican Party as they were trying to defund Obamacare and completely gut Obamacare. John McCain famously went against the party in that way because he knew it was going to be one of his last votes and he wanted to protect his legacy. That's the only example I could have. But that's John McCain breaking with Republican Party orthodoxy of gutting healthcare, as John McCain would have loved to do in many other circumstances throughout his life. But that's John McCain breaking to the left of his party, right? This is Kyrsten Sinema completely ignoring what the American people want and going full speed Republican compared to her party, right? She's not even like slightly breaking on some issues. She's just tanking her party's agenda. So don't get the comparison there at all. But they continue saying that at her core, Sinema is something of a fiscal conservative, which disappoints progressives and the rest of the American people, leading them to whisper about a primary challenge in 2024, which honestly I don't think is going to be enough. I don't think that's even leverage because she could just go and get a cushy job in one of these corporations that she is serving the interests of right now without a problem. But they continue saying she's unconventional. I would call it corrupt, maybe, evil, maybe, not unconventional, okay? Because corruption is something that is absolutely conventional in Washington, D.C., but they say she's unconventional, and this is really interesting. And what they cite as evidence that she is unconventional, see recent internship at Sonoma Winery and a force to be reckoned with. Okay, so this internship that they're talking about it as if it was like some quirky little thing that Sinema went off and she did a cute little internship at this winery. And isn't that just so quirky and cool and funny of this bisexual senator, right? That's how they're trying to frame this internship. Well, here from The Intercept, Kyrsten Sinema used the winery where she interned to fundraise with private equity. Wow. It's almost like she's not quirky and she's not just a goofball who's breaking with party lines. And it's almost like she's actually just entirely corrupted, right? Okay, this is the reality. The Arizona senator who is blocking tax increases on the rich spent the summer courting donors who stand to lose under major tax reform. Wow, amazing. But this is the framing that they choose. She's unconventional and a force to be reckoned with. She's known to rise between 4 to 5 a.m. Who the fuck cares? To train for her next race. And she was forced to take up aqua jogging after breaking her foot this summer in something called the Light at the End of the Tunnel Marathon. What the fuck are you even talking about? Just getting into her personal life. Who the fuck cares if she's going for jogs in the morning? I care about her taking corrupt bribes from all of these corporate interests and then opposing the agenda of the American people. That's what I care about. That's what something would be actually substantive for a journalistic publication to actually write about instead of what her daily morning routine is, okay? But they continue. Finally here with the big picture, okay? So a little bit of policy. So they say, while Manchin has been intensely focused on the price tag of the spending, setting his limit at $1.5 trillion, Sinema has signaled that she's more concerned with the tax side of the equation, including who pays for them. Namely, she doesn't want the rich to pay for them, and she's suggested to some allies that she's reluctant to support any increase in the corporate tax rate, but she's more likely to accept a smaller increase in the head. Another way of framing this exact same sentence, okay, instead of her being like quirky and stuff like that, an exact rephrasing of this is to say she supports the Trump tax cuts, okay? Kyrsten Sinema, a supposed Democrat who is, breaking with the party lines in a goofy way, right? She's actually just supporting the Trump agenda. She is supporting the Trump tax cuts in 2017. She doesn't even want to go halfway back to what it was under Obama. She doesn't even want to undo half of the Trump tax cuts, and they're framing this in that way. But she continues saying, she's raised flags about increasing the rate on corporations' international profits, which she believes could harm their competitiveness. So basically, she supports all of these billion-dollar corporations being able to ship their jobs and their money overseas so they don't have to pay taxes on them while they continue shafting the American people. That's the situation that she wants to protect and support for competitiveness. Competitiveness for who? Competitiveness for the CEOs and the executives that are walking out the back door with all the money in their pockets? Yeah, sure. Competitiveness for them, but not competitiveness for the American people and your average worker in this country. But they continue saying that on capital gains, she's also indicated that she's opposed to Biden's headline 39.6% rate, but could accept a number in the mid-20s. Wow. So what do you know? She wants to protect capital gains, which are overwhelmingly impacted on the rich. Okay, so it's pretty open and blatant exactly what is going on here. And yet Axios is having a really rough time figuring this out. But just to give you a reminder, and Hans Nichols, if you happen to stumble across this video here, just to give you a reminder for writing such an idiotic article, this is what Kirsten Sinema has been doing recently. A cartoonish level of corruption. Kirsten Sinema blasted for fundraising from business groups opposed to the Democratic agenda. So this is what she did last week, okay? She held a fundraising event that was like 45 minutes long, where a bunch of these super PACs came and a bunch of these corporate interests came, and they basically just spent the 45 minutes writing checks to Kirsten Sinema and patting her on the back and saying, good job, please continue to serve our interests while tanking the agenda of the American people. This is what Kirsten Sinema is doing, okay? In addition to that, Big Pharma, medical firms, donated $750,000 to Kirsten Sinema. Then she opposed the drug bill. Okay, so listen. Axios will have you believe that this entire dynamic is just because Kirsten Sinema is a quirky little bisexual senator from Arizona that progressives just can't seem to wrangle into control, when the reality is Kirsten Sinema is an evil, corrupted ghoul who represents corporate America and is currently trying to sabotage the agenda that would materially improve average Americans' lives. That's the actual situation we have going on right here. I have absolutely no idea what motivated Axios to do this insane level of bootlicking for Kirsten Sinema at a time like this, but it's completely inaccurate. It's completely ridiculous reporting, and it's one of the most absurd and outlandish articles that I've ever read in my entire life.